Let me start with something uncomfortable. Right now, the paper money in your wallet has value only because everyone agrees to pretend it does. If tomorrow morning that agreement cracked even slightly, that paper would become a very expensive bookmark. Sounds dramatic, right? But here's the real question that almost nobody asks. Why, for thousands of years, did humans across continents, cultures, and empires all independently decide that one shiny yellow metal was worth rearranging their entire societies around? Not wheat, not cows, not diamonds. Gold. And here's the twist that makes this even stranger. If gold was so perfect as money, why did we abandon it? Why did we walk away from something that supposedly held value forever and replace it with numbers on a screen? If you've ever felt confused watching inflation rise, currencies weaken, or headlines scream about money printing, understanding this one story gives you an unfair advantage. Because once you see how money really works, you stop being surprised by the chaos. But there's a catch. Gold's value has nothing to do with beauty, rarity, or even usefulness in the way most people think. And the moment you realize what it actually represents, you'll never look at money or your savings the same way again. Imagine trying to run a modern city using bartering. You bake bread, but you need shoes. The shoemaker doesn't want bread today, he wants vegetables. The farmer wants tools. You're stuck in an endless negotiation loop, like a broken group chat. That's the core problem money was invented to solve. Trust and coordination at scale. Money is not about wealth first, it's about agreement. Now, here's where gold enters the story. For something to work as money, it has to be hard to fake, easy to recognize, divisible, durable, and scarce enough that no one can suddenly flood the system. Gold accidentally checks all those boxes. You can't grow it like crops. You can't create it by decree. You can't destroy it easily. Melt it, cut it, bury it for 1,000 years, it comes back unchanged. Think of gold like the ultimate memory stick for value. Societies needed a way to store effort across time. If you worked hard today, you needed confidence that your effort wouldn't evaporate tomorrow. Gold became that storage device. Not because it was magical, but because it resisted human cheating better than almost anything else available at the time. But pause here, because this is important. Gold didn't create trust. It replaced the need for trust. You didn't need to believe the king was honest if the coin itself was difficult to manipulate. That's a subtle difference, and it's about to matter a lot. Most people say gold has value because it's rare. That's only half true. Plenty of things are rare and worthless. What actually gives gold value is the effort embedded in it. Every ounce represents thousands of hours of digging, refining, transporting, and protecting. You can't shortcut that process easily. Think of it like a mountain that everyone has to climb. If you want gold, you climb the mountain. You can't teleport to the top. That shared difficulty creates fairness. When gold is money, everyone plays by roughly the same rules. But here's the uncomfortable question. What happens when someone figures out a shortcut? What happens when a ruler realizes they can issue paper claims on gold, instead of moving the gold itself? At first it sounds brilliant. Paper is lighter, faster, more convenient. The gold stays in a vault. Everyone wins. Until they don't, because once paper claims exist, the temptation is irresistible. Print a little more than the gold you actually have. Just a little. No one will notice. And that's when money quietly stops being about storage of effort and starts becoming a tool of power. Historically, gold-backed money didn't collapse overnight. It eroded politely. Banks issued receipts for gold deposits. People traded receipts instead of metal. Governments standardized those receipts. Everything felt stable, even elegant. But war changes everything. Wars are expensive, and taxes are unpopular. Gold limits how much a government can spend. Paper does not. So during emergencies, gold convertibility was temporarily suspended. And temporary, in politics, has a funny habit of becoming permanent. The most famous break happened in 1971, when the United States quietly stopped allowing foreign governments to exchange dollars for gold. No announcement to the public. No dramatic countdown. Just a door closed. From that moment on, Global money became pure belief, backed by state authority, not metal. Here's the pattern interrupt. If gold was holding the system together, why didn't everything collapse instantly? Why didn't money become worthless overnight? Because trust didn't disappear. It just changed shape. Modern money is backed by something far more abstract: productive capacity, legal systems, military power, and social stability. A dollar today is a claim on future goods and services produced by millions of people who believe the system will still exist tomorrow. That's powerful, but fragile. Gold didn't care who ruled or which empire fell. Fiat money, which is money by decree, depends entirely on confidence. Confidence in institutions. Confidence in restraint. Confidence that the rules won't change suddenly. This is why gold didn't vanish when we stopped using it as money. Central banks still hold it. Investors still run to it during crises. Gold shifted roles. It stopped being everyday money and became insurance against systemic failure. And here's the catch: most people miss. Gold doesn't compete with stocks or businesses. It competes with bad governance. When systems work well, gold looks boring. When systems crack, gold suddenly looks very intelligent. So why not go back? Why not just return to a gold standard and fix everything? Because the modern economy runs at a speed and scale gold cannot support. Digital transactions, global trade, instant credit. Gold is too slow, too rigid. Using gold today would be like trying to power the internet with steam engines. Reliable, yes. Flexible, no. Economies need elasticity. They need the ability to expand and contract money supply in response to shocks. Gold resists that, but resistance cuts both ways. The same rigidity that prevents abuse also prevents adaptation. So the world made a trade-off. We chose flexibility over discipline, growth over restraint, convenience over permanence. And now we live with the consequences. This isn't just history. This shapes your life right now. Inflation isn't random. Currency weakness isn't mysterious. They're features of a system where money is no longer anchored to something immovable. Gold teaches you a mental model. Money is not wealth. It's a tool, a measuring stick. When the stick stretches, your savings shrink, even if the number stays the same. That's why people feel like they're running faster, but going nowhere. Owning gold won't make you rich. That's not its job. Its job is to remind the system that effort matters, limits matter, and shortcuts always come with a bill, just not immediately. Here's the shift. Stop asking whether gold is good or bad. That's the wrong frame. Gold is a mirror. When confidence in systems is high, the mirror fades. When confidence cracks, the mirror sharpens. Gold has value because it forces honesty across time. We stopped using it as money because honesty is inconvenient. And every generation rediscovers this tension the hard way. Once you see this, you stop panicking at headlines. You stop worshiping numbers on screens. You start thinking in systems, incentives, and long-term trust. That's how people quietly protect themselves while others argue about prices. If this helped you see money differently, drop a comment with your biggest aha moment. Like the video so it reaches people who still think money is just paper. And subscribe, because once you understand how value really works, you can't unsee it, and this channel is about pulling back those layers, one system at a time.